Hello everyone, it's Gladius. Today we're talking about the warriors in Season of Discovery. Season of Discovery is going to reshape the way that a lot of these classes play, fill in a lot of the gaps, and make the classes feel more complete compared to their era versions. Now you may be thinking warrior is not exactly incomplete when it comes to era. We know the raid structure, we know how powerful warriors are, and while it is true, a lot of the other classes are being brought up to the warriors level, warriors still looking really solid in Season of Discovery. There are tools that we're not going to get until later versions or the later phases of Season of Discovery, but there's a lot of stuff we have to work with right now. It fills in some of the early level clunkiness that it has while leveling a warrior. If you remember from era, we don't exactly have the smoothest way to 60, but at 60, whoo boy, that's a good experience for the warrior. All right, without wasting any time, let's jump right into the runes. So we're going to talk through all of the chest runes first. On chest, we're able to get something called Flagellation. Flagellation is going to increase the bonus physical damage by 25% while we have either Blood Rage or Berserker Rage active. Now that's really awesome because these are buffs that we're able to use for other utility things, like Blood Rage can keep us in combat between pulls and stops our rage from degenerating and also allows us to get some rage before the pull even starts. And Berserker Rage is that thing that breaks those incapacitating effects like Fear and Sap. We're going to turn these into full-blown DPS cooldowns. There's one caveat. We're leveling up to level 25, which means we'll only have access to one of these rages. That's okay. It's a solid 12 seconds of this Enrage effect, and also we'll talk more about, there's more on this with coming up. Blood Frenzy. This is going to give us rage back every time we have a bleed tick. Now, if you remember, the vanilla warrior or the classic version of warrior is going to have deep wounds and also rend. Rend wasn't exactly a button that we all like to press because it doesn't scale with weapon damage. It doesn't proc anything on its own. And ultimately the amount of damage it put out was quite insignificant. But this is going to give a purpose to rend, and it's going to stack nicely with our deep wounds as well. So we're able to get, in just those two mentioned, those two different bleeds, we should get 6 for every tick that these have, 6 rage coming back to us. So 3 per bleed type. So stack the bleeds, get the rage back, and that solves one of our problems early on, which is just getting rage in the first place. And for those of you who are new to warrior, we get rage from attacks, we get more from crits, we get more when we are attacked, and we get even more when we're crit. So there's a lot going on when it comes to trying to get more rage. Now going down to our final one, Raging Blow does 100% weapon damage, and it's only able to be used while we have some kind of enrage effect. And like I mentioned before, we're not going to get all of our enrage effects. We do have an enrage that's built into the Fury tree. If we spec into Fury, we mentioned these rage cooldowns from before, we're able to force an enrage effect. I think Raging Blow is going to be something that scales really nicely, maybe in later phases, along with the first one we mentioned, the Flagellation. I think both of these are going to be I think Flagellation and Raging Blow are going to be really nice since we have access to all of our enrage effects and abilities to force enrage. But I think the true winner of the chests when it comes to leveling is the Fury funnel of Blood Frenzy. I think Blood Frenzy is going to get a lot of use early on, especially when we're leveling, just getting a ton of rage so we can use our heroic strikes more often. I'm excited to mention Warbringer here though, because Warbringer is going to be great for PvP especially. Think about it as a warrior charging right out of a Frost Nova. Finally, we have a way of catching mages for just a second, and then they'll freeze us again with something else. But at least for a moment, we can break out of that route. We can break out of that route and get over to the mage and at least say hello, I guess. So yeah, that level 25 Ashenvale PvP zone, Warbringer is going to be a part of that hidden sauce that's really going to make us keep up. Now we're jumping into the leg glyphs now. We have Furious Thunder. Furious Thunder is really nice because this is going to help out prot warriors a lot. In the past, we had to actually change stances, which wipes our rage. We can keep a little bit because of the tactical rune in the arms tree. If we're close to rage cap, we do end up losing a lot when we swap over for the Thunderclap. Not having to stance swap is going to be really useful here. Our next rune on our legs is going to be Consumed by Rage. This is where we can force us to go into the enraged effect, and we can make use of some of those other tokens, those other runes. We'll have to see how these stack together to see if we can really get the full use of it at level 25 before we pick up one of our other Berserk windows. But this is going to be nice for forcing that effect, and this allows the arms tree to get the enraged effect as well. Frenzied Assault sounds really, really nice. This is going to help us attack faster with our two-handers. A lot of us are probably going to be using two-handers early on in the level 1 to 25, including Fury, depending on how they're able to handle the hit chance penalty you get when you're dual wielding. Especially while leveling, you want to consider using a 2H no matter if you're Fury or if you're going to level using arms. I do think arms overall is going to be the better way to level, especially from 1 to 25. There's a lot of surprises with Season of Discovery, so that may change. All right, let's go into glove runes now. Gloves are going to have access to Victory Rush. This is very familiar to those of us who have played Warrior in other versions of the game. This one is going to be the evolved form of it, the second version of it that we got later in, I think it was Cataclysm, where we're actually going to get a heal back instead of just doing extra damage. This is one of the most important things for leveling Warriors, and it's going to be so useful if we're able to get it early on. Endless Rage. This is fantastic no matter what spec you're playing. As Warrior, we always want more Rage because we can use it to just dish out more and more damage, obviously, right? The damage version of the Rage generations can be increased by 25%. This isn't the rage that you're getting from being hit. But Prot Warriors, no worries, because this next one is made for you. Devastate. 10% increased damage per application of Sunder armor that's on the target. So we're going to be starting with our charge in and Sunder rotation, and then we're going to be devastating on top of it to do lots of damage. Here's Single-Minded Fury. It's back, and it looks like it's actually going to be useful this time. While you're dual wielding, we're going to get damage increased and movement speed increased by 10%. This is really nice. I see this really being nice in a PvP scenario, but also this is going to help you stick to your target. We are melee. We always want to be next to it. So having more maneuverability, I'll never complain about having more maneuverability on a warrior because we need to get around those raid mechanics and move around the battlefield quicker. I'm really excited about this next glyph in particular, Quick Strike. Leveling as a warrior, one of my biggest complaints is that Heroic Strike doesn't feel super satisfying to hit because it applies to your next auto attack. Yeah, for those of you who didn't know, your next auto has the Heroic Strike effect, and that's why it always felt so delayed when you used it back in Classic. This one is going to have the same effect as Heroic Strike, but it's going to go immediately. This also means that we're not consuming that auto attack. Because think about it, when we're not only taking the place of that auto attack so we don't get the rage generation, but we're spending rage with that Heroic Strike. This one, we're still going to be spending that rage, but we get that auto attack after that's going to give us more rage back. Really nice. I think this one is kind of the underdog, and a lot of people are looking over this one, but Quick Strike looks like a pretty awesome glyph, and I'm super excited to make use of it, especially while leveling. With runes out of the way, let's talk about talents. Here's a talent build. I'll put it in the description below. A solid 2H build. Again, I don't think you're going to want to be leveling dual wielding. Dual wielding does have a penalty to attacks, a penalty to hit, and already not hitting something feels super bad for a warrior because not only do you not do any damage with your auto, but you also don't get rage, so you can't use your empowered attacks as much, like Heroic Strike and Quick Strike and that kind of stuff. But hey, you do you. If you want to go ahead and dual wield, you go right ahead and do it. And that's it. That's the warrior. We're ready to go. We're ready for Season of Discovery. Now, take a look in the description. If it is after the release of Season of Discovery, I'm going to be revisiting these guides with the information we're able to gain from the launch week. And not convincing the warrior? No worries. Next step you got to do is to make sure you are on the class you want. Take a look at the other guides I have in the description. I'm going to be trying to get to all of the other classes before the release of Season of Discovery. If I miss your class, I'm so sorry, but it is definitely on the way. Keep an eye out and subscribe if you want to stay tuned for that. Now, is your buddy still on the fence about playing Season of Discovery? No problems. Link in the video that I'm going to put in the description below. I just have a full-on hype session talking about Season of Discovery listed below, and I try to convince you, the viewer, or maybe your friend on why they should play Season of Discovery coming up. Link it to them. I'll try to convince them, and hopefully we'll both see them in Azeroth on the 30th. All right, everyone, that's going to do it for the video today. Please heroic strike that like button if the video is helpful to you in some way. Please heroic strike that like button, and if you want to stay tuned for more WoW content in the future, please bash the subscribe. I appreciate your time today, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, everyone.